All right, hello everyone. We are going to continue our study of factoring by getting to some of the good stuff now. Okay, and one of those techniques is called factor by grouping. Okay, factor by grouping is going to be used a lot, so this is definitely a technique you want to make sure you practice. Okay, here, let me show you something. If we have 3x star minus, let's say plus 7 star, and I said factor something out. There's no number in common. They both don't have an x. But they both have a star. So what you would do is you would factor out star, and then you would say parentheses 3x, I took a star away, plus 7. Okay? So if they both had a star, you would take star out. But sometimes the common factor is actually a binomial. What? A binomial of terms. Take a look at this example here. They both have a number, but nothing in common. Okay? He's got a single x, and he doesn't, but they both have this binomial. Okay? They both have, this is kind of like the star. They both have the same binomial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the binomial, right? And you have to put parentheses around the binomial. And then I'm going to open parentheses for the leftovers. So he had a 3 and an x in the binomial, but I took his binomial away. So now he's just 3x. Plus, okay, he had a 7. And he had the binomial, but I took the binomial away. Okay, so what we end up having here are two binomials with parentheses. Okay, and that's exactly how it looks. So this is the common binomial. This is the thing that they both have. And then this is, sometimes I call these the leftovers. The leftovers, okay? And this technique is called factor by grouping. So you look at the first group and you look at the second group to see what they have. Okay, let's practice. Number 1 right here, I noticed that there's 2 groups. Okay, so the first group is all of this stuff right here. And the second group is right there. So the plus or minus sign separates the 2 groups. So let's just cover things up and look at the first group. I see they have this binomial, 7x minus 5, and this group also has the same binomial. They don't have any constant, any number in common. They both don't have any single x's, but they both have that binomial. So I know what I'm going to take out. The thing that they have in common is the binomial 7x minus 5. Okay, then you open parentheses and you put them right next to each other. The thing that comes out is multiplied in front. So he used to have 2x squared, and he still does, but I took his binomial away. Okay, plus sign. Okay, he's got a 3 and he still has the 3, but the binomial got factored out. Factor by grouping. Okay, and your answer should be 2 sets of parentheses. Okay, let's do it again. I'm looking here. Here's the first group. Here's the second group. They don't have any coefficient in common or any variable, but they have the same binomial. So the thing that we're going to take out is the binomial 4x plus 2. Okay, close up that binomial. You have to use parentheses. The whole binomial is getting multiplied by the leftovers. So he had a 3 and an x. Still has them, but I took the binomial out, and then we say minus 2, and I took his binomial out. And that is how you do factor by grouping. Okay, now the other thing that you might see, okay, sometimes it seems like, okay, the terms of the polynomials don't have anything in common. Okay, so when you have something like this, we can make our own groups and then look for common factors. Okay. Always make sure your terms are in descending order first. Okay, we'll make sure that they're in descending order. Okay, so what this means is sometimes we have to look at these first 2 and that's the first group. And these two are the second group, okay, because they don't have a binomial standing out. So let's just look at this first group right here. They both have x squared. Okay, so what I'm going to do is factor out x squared, parentheses. So from this first group, you just take out a monomial. He had 3 x's. I took 2 away. That leaves him with x minus 3. Okay, now let's look at the second group. Okay, you have to put a plus or a minus sign here. You have to. I'm going to factor out a positive, and they both have a 2. And then open parentheses. What does he have left? He has his x left, and then minus 6 divided by 2 is 3. Is that true? These two terms plus these two terms, were there 4 terms to begin with? Yes. Okay, does that make sense? If you distribute these two back in, 1, 2 terms plus 2 terms. Very important right here. You have to put a plus or a minus sign. Let's write that down, okay? Always put plus or minus sign. Okay, now we're back to factor by grouping. Okay, so I notice the first group, okay, has the binomial x minus 3, and the second group has the same one. When they both have the same binomial, then you go ahead and take it out. Okay, so here comes the factor by grouping part. X minus 3 was the thing they had in common, and then you have big parentheses that opened up. So the first group had his binomial taken away, and he's x squared. The second group had his binomial taken away, and he's just x plus 2. Okay, factor by grouping. Let's do a couple more, okay? If the problem is not given to you in descending order, we're going to make sure that that happens. So I'll put x cubed first, and then plus 2x squared goes second, minus 5x minus 10. Okay, so I've got my 4 terms. Factor by grouping is when you have 4 terms. Okay, so that the first 2 make a group and the second 2 make a group. All right, I'm just going to cover everything up because I want to see is there something I can take out. The greatest common factor between these two is x squared. Okay, so I'll take out x squared, and then that leaves us with 1 more x for that guy. He had 2 x's. I took them away. All he has left is his plus 2. Okay, now let's look at the second 2. Remember what I said, if they start with a negative like this, okay, you have to take it out. So I'm going to take out minus, and this is exactly what I meant when I said always put a plus or a minus. I'm going to take out a negative and a 5. Okay, so he had a negative, but I took it out. He had a 5, I factored it out. He's got his x left. He had a negative, I factored it out. So now he's a positive. 10 divided by 5 makes 2. Is that true? Negative 5 times x, and then negative 5 times positive 2. Yep, that works. Okay, so we looked at the 2 groups, we factored out the greatest common factor 2 times, and now I'm noticing that they both have the same binomial. Okay, so I'm going to now factor out the common binomial, x plus 2. Okay, so the common binomial comes out, and then this is, remember, the leftovers. The leftovers. I'll put quotes. That's not really a math word. So he's got x squared left. I took his binomial away. Minus 5 in his binomial got factored out. All of your answers are going to look like, parentheses, parentheses. Okay, this is the common binomial, and then these are the leftovers. Okay, makes sense? We got one more. I'm looking here at the r's, and they're already in descending order, so we're all set. From the first 2, wow, this is huge. I could take out an 8 and 2 r's. So 8r squared is going to get factored out. so the 8 got factored out 2 of the r's. He's down to just 1 r. Minus 64 divided by 8 is 8. Both of his r's got taken out. Okay. Now I'll tell you what some people do. They kind of look to see what's the common binomial. I know I want to make a match, okay, but we have to write plus or minus. I'm going to write a plus, and I have to take something out. They don't have a number in common. They don't have any r's, but I have to write plus a number. I know the number that I take out that really won't do anything is a 1. You have to say plus or minus a number. So if I take out a positive 1, okay, he's just an r. If I take out positive 1, he's just minus 8. It's like doing nothing, right? Is it 1 times r, just r, and positive 1 times negative 8? Okay, but you have to say plus or minus a number. You have to. Should we write that note down again? It's very important. Always write, okay, plus or minus a number. Plus or minus a number. And if there's no number, then say 1. Okay, and here's the reason why. The common binomial that they both have is r minus 8. And then the leftovers are 8r squared. And then, oh, good thing I had something there, plus 1. Okay, you have to have 2 things. 2 leftovers have to go there. So you have to say plus 1, even if there's nothing. Okay, great job learning factor by grouping.